Hello and welcome to the Sumner County Sports Show. I am your host, Blaine Keller, sports editor for the Hendersonville Standard, Gallatin News, and Portland Sun. Well, if you've been following along this summer, you've seen that we've taken you all across Sumner County, talking a little baseball with Full Count Rhythm head coach and general manager Josh Carmen. Had a great talk with him last week in light of the news of Chase Burns, Sumner County prospect transferring from Tennessee to Wake Forest. We've talked a little station camp football. We've done a lot of preview work and given you a glimpse into what our magazines and newspapers look like each and every week. And now we're headed back to the football field as pads and heat acclimation period is kicking off. Our guest for this week is Liberty Creek football coach Bill Alexander, and we are so excited to have him on the show today. Coach Alexander, how are you?
Doing great. How are you, Blaine?
I'm great. Really glad to have you on. I know practice just wrapped up for the Wolves today. Let's start off with this. How'd it go on this kind of muggy and rainy Thursday?
Yeah, so we did a special teams walkthrough in the field house this morning, and then we were actually in the midst of walking from the field house up to the practice field when we had two big claps of lightning and thunder. So we turned around and went back in the indoor. You know, having the indoor is just such a blessing. And so we were able to do the things we needed to do. We have a 7-on-7 scheduled for tonight, so we had a pretty light day scheduled anyway. We just did some special teams and a little inside running perimeter. But I'm really excited about the guys and the great job they're doing. We've really had 8 good practices so far this year.
Well, coming back from the dead period, I'm sure that's a pretty nice mark to reach. Did you have a goal in mind for good practices up to this point?
Yeah, you know, I think I told our principal yesterday, I just feel like we're so far ahead of where I thought we would be right now, not just in numbers and in number of coaches we have and just what we were able to progress through. And we had a great June in the weight room. And really, I think the what we're getting going now is an outcome of just an outstanding spring practice. So our guys have really bought in and are trying to do the things we've asked. And so we really haven't had – we worked out 4 times last week, practiced on the field 4 times for 2 hours. Today was our 4th time this week, and obviously our 2nd day in shoulder pads. And we have not had a bad practice yet.
Well, that's great news to hear from a program that, just started last year at this point, was still getting everything tucked away as a first-year program and a first-year coach of a first-year program. What did you feel like you and your players learned out of that first season and kind of applied to these practices so far?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we learned is we just had to learn each other. I think when we met for the very first time last summer, in the summer of 22, I think I knew 5 players, and we ended up with 62 players. We were having to work out. CrossFit Hendersonville was so gracious to let us work out in their facility. Witten Elementary was letting us practice in their schoolyard. And so, we're just so far beyond that. But I think one of the things that's really carried over for us is we just have so many players back. We had 5 seniors last year, and they all contributed in some way, but really only had 2 that played a ton. So we're just full of returning starters. And so, it's really made the transition into this year pretty easy because everybody has a pretty good idea what our expectations are and what our schemes are. Our schemes haven't changed that much.
And Coach, looking at that season that you guys had, just learning each other and figuring out the process as a first-year school, you went 3-7, but you faced some really, really tough opponents in there. 6A Oakland, 3-time state champion, I think back-to-back-to-back, 5A quarterfinalist, Nolensville. They had a wonderful year last year.
Yeah.
In that schedule that you guys played, outside of maybe some of the wins, what were some moments of growth that you saw through the season?
I think every game we accomplished something, which I think says a lot, except for maybe the Nolensville game. Nolensville really was the one game that I just felt like we didn't play well. We didn't do very well in the Nolensville game. But I think one of the things that really was a big difference for our program was honestly the Oakland game. In the Oakland game, Coach Dickerson says it was this big piano that was hanging over our head the whole season, and it really, really was. And, our kids did a great job preparing for that. And, we all knew what it was going to be. And Coach Creasy was super kind to us. I think the final was 69-0, and he could have broke the old Cumberland Georgia Tech 222-0 if he wanted to. But he worked on his stuff and let some other kids play, and I felt like our program really kind of turned a corner there, and we kind of, I think, saw what a program like Oakland's like. We had a really good opening drive against their first defense and got like 4 first downs. And I think that gave us a little confidence. And the Oakland game, when we came back from it, I think the way we prepped and played to end the season was just different. I can't explain why, just different. Maybe it was just getting that game out of the way because it did just kind of hang over us. But, we went down to Chattanooga Central, which was a really good 4A team last year, the last week of the regular season. And it was 10-7 at halftime, and we drove the ball to the 1-yard line and had a chance. We fumbled. We had a chance to punch it in and take the lead midway through the third quarter. They ended up beating us by, I think, 3 touchdowns. But the Oakland game was a significant mark in our program, and I probably wouldn't have scheduled. I didn't schedule that game, and I probably wouldn't have scheduled that game if I had total control of the schedule. But I think that ended up being a good marker for our program overall.
Coach, you touched on it on the jump here about how during last season, during the preseason, and probably through spring practices this year, it's been a learning process between you and your players. How have you seen the benefits of that knowledge of each other, maybe that trust of each other, both ways?
Yeah, I think trust is such an important part of what our program is. And, we talk about the bedrock of our program just being good teammates, and that means serving one another and really trying to build a positive culture. And again, we just didn't know each other last year. So we've had a year to get to know each other, and they've gotten to know me and our staff, and we've gotten to know the players. And I just think that's been an important part of what's happening. The best football, I told our team the other day, we were dismissing practice. I said, the best football teams in terms of success, the most successful teams I've had, they loved each other and they got along well with each other. I didn't mean they were all best buddies and they all really liked each other, but they loved and respected each other. And I've been a part of some teams that had really good talent that didn't have a very successful season, and it's because they didn't love and respect each other. So we've really tried to make that a core part of our culture, and they've really bought into that. And and just having a year together to do that, and all the way from starting last summer when literally I was calling roll. I was trying to learn names. We were playing name games last year this time, just trying to figure out who everybody's name was. Because I think we came from like 16 different schools or something. It was crazy. And then, to get to the day where, I think everybody's comfortable with one another, it's made a big difference in our preparation for this fall.
Well, when you say that, playing a name game and just trying to figure out who's who from the start of last summer, in what ways outside of practice and games did you get to know these guys and get these guys to know each other?
Well, I'm a man of faith, so FCA has been a part for a lot of them. A lot of them are active in FCA, and I sponsor the FCA, so we've done that. We've tried to do just some activities here in the field house. We try to do some fun things, and but really it's just we don't do a lot of things outside of football. It's just being intentional. I think I believed my whole life, my whole career, that people, the most important thing they ever hear is someone say their name. And so we just try to be really intentional. I try to be intentional as a head coach and our staff to call our players by name. When we're working out, we got that awesome facility. We're all in there, just in between sets, just try to talk to a kid and ask them how's their day going, what's life like. And, I'm still learning. I'm still learning about our players. And, we had 62 last year. We graduated 5, and we're at 103 this year. So, I think I might be the only person in the building that I think could name all 103 people right now. And it's because I do roll call every day. So, but it's just being intentional to try to interact with the kids in the locker room, in the weight room, on the practice field, and not, I'm all business, but there's opportunities inside football time to love on these young men and really try to find out what's going on in their life.
Yeah, when you only lose a handful of players, I'm sure there's a lot of talent. And also, when you add almost 40 more than last year, there's a lot of new names to get to know. Who are some of the key returnees that you feel are going to be a big part of this year's team, and maybe some additions that have surprised you so far?
Yeah, well, obviously Brian Rager. We probably don't win those 3 games last year without Brian at quarterback, and he's just had a phenomenal summer. Our offense continues to grow. Coach Dickerson does a great job calling our offense and putting that together, and so Brian is going to be key to what we do. We've got a core set of receivers that are doing a great job, and Dylan Mitchell and Jackson Pomeroy and Brock Taylor. We've got our O-line is all back and are mature. So Michael Lopez is a senior up there, and then everybody else up there is still an underclassman for the most part. But Micah does a good job leading that group. Colson Case is another senior up there. Colson plays center and does a great job. He's really worked hard in the weight room to change his body. And then on defense, Kyle Farmer's back. Dylan Mitchell will play in the back end. Ben Chappell plays Rover. And he'll do a great job for us. Trip Gibson's another senior up there. So, we just got so many people coming back. And then new kids. We had a kid move in from Oklahoma, Colton Simmons, who I think right now I would project him as a starter at inside linebacker. He's been a good addition. And then, we still have young men who played mostly JV last year that are maturing and getting more reps. Seth Taylor's a young man like that. And then Kyler Gammon is getting more and more reps. Isaiah Link. The list is just super long. We're trying to play fewer guys 1-2 ways this year. So that's going to give more guys an opportunity to play. But we're still a young program. When we went to Chattanooga Central last year for that last game of the regular season, we dressed 50 kids. We took 35 freshmen and sophomores. So all those kids are just continuing to mature and grow. And we did new heights and weights this week, and almost all our guys were up anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds from the end of the season in November last year. So Coach McFerrin's done a great job in the weight room. We just continue to grow. We're just a growing program. That's who we are.
You can only go up when you start at the bottom,
That's
when
correct.
you start from ground zero. But
Yeah.
Wanted to talk a little bit about Brian Rager, your quarterback. Has 9 passing touchdowns, 720 passing yards last year, 7 more on the ground. He's been all over the country this summer at so many different college camps. What strides have you seen him make out of those?
Well, I think, first of all, he gets all the opportunities. He's getting to go to all those camps because he's a 4.0 guy in the classroom. And he's got a 30-plus on the ACT. So that just opens so many doors for Ivy Leagues and good D3 programs and some, FCS programs up there in the Northeast. And so he has had an opportunity. But, Brian just continues to mature. His accuracy in passing, I think, has really improved. Brian was with me at Beach. And so, I've seen him since he was a freshman. His accuracy, his arm strength continues to improve. He just makes such good decisions on the field. He's not scared to run the ball. He's just a super intelligent player. And I think him and Coach Dickerson have really clicked. I think he has a good vision for what Coach Dickerson's trying to do offensively, both in the run game, which we're giving him some reads to do in the run game, and in the passing game. And, Brian's just one of those kids that's easy to coach because you just start teaching him and he just soaks it up and he does what he's coached to do. He's just such a coachable kid.
And in that, does he extend that to the players now? With still a pretty young roster, you want to have some guys step up in those leadership roles. Is Brian one of those guys?
Yeah, Brian, we've just done some personality stuff as a staff. I think one of the hard parts is Brian's not a very vocal guy. He's an awesome leader. Like, he's a leader by example. I tell him all the time, I wish he was more vocal. And he's working on that and trying to be more like that. The kids, the other players will follow him because he's such a good player and he's such a good example. But I think if the college coaches that have asked me, what does he need to work on? And my answer has been, he has to be a more vocal leader in the locker room. That's just not his personality. He's just a really quiet young man.
Coach Alexander, looking at your first region and your first region schedule here with Liberty Creek in your second season, it's a bit of an interesting one. Anthony Law coming back to Tennessee, mid-state coaching with Stratford, and he's got his son Justice there at quarterback, former Beach product. Class 3A runner-up East Nashville in that region, Republic, and an upstart Maplewood team. What are your thoughts on jumping into this region as you get ready for year 2?
Well, we knew we were going to be 3A. We felt like there were 2 regions we could possibly match in, and we ended up in the region with the metro schools. We're excited to be in this region in some respects. We think this is a region that we have the ability, if we play well, to finish second and host a playoff game, which would be phenomenal for a first-year program. Now, I think Maplewood's made a really good coaching hire, and I think Stratford's obviously going to be on the uprise. So I think it's going to be difficult to finish second, but I think it's a region we can finish second in, and we feel like we pair with another 3A region where if we're good enough to finish second and host a game, we have an opportunity to maybe win a playoff game. And if we can host and win a playoff game in this second year and really our first year of region play, that's just a huge step for our program. But we know we got our work cut out for us. Stratford and Maplewood, they're up and down, and they've made good coaching hires. And usually in those metro schools, if they got good coaches, they're going to be, they're going to be good football teams. So that's the goal we've set for the year. But we know it's a challenging goal, but we do feel like it's achievable.
As you said, a huge step would be getting that home playoff game, and the goal being making the playoffs in year 2. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's we've always said that our goal year 2 was to make the playoffs. We feel like in a 5-team region that we should be able to finish in the top 4. And so, we know really only have to win 1 region game to make that happen. So, we feel confident that we can make that happen. That is, a low bar goal for us. I do think it's a big goal. If you're in a 9-team region, it's a little different. But one of the reasons we were excited about this region is we did feel like it's a region where making the playoffs is very achievable, and hosting the playoffs is a good, challenging, but achievable goal.
One more for you here, Coach Alexander. At the jump, you mentioned scrimmaging a team tonight in a 7-on-7, and I wanted to talk about another one that you get to do at the end of the month with James Lawson, another first-year school there. How neat of an experience is that, kind of being on the other side of finishing year 1 and now getting to kind of see that in the other side with the Lightning?
Yeah, Coach Lilly and I talked, we emailed back and forth yesterday about our, what it's going to look like. And I'm excited to get to go against them. I think, they've got a lot of the same issues we were going through last year. We were talking about where we were going to scrimmage, and I was willing to come to him, and he was like, Coach, I don't know that our place is going to be ready, which, we had to play our first home game last year at Harrisville High School because our place wasn't ready. So it's exciting to get to play James Lawson. If you look deeper in our schedule, we're going to play Kirkwood, which is a first-year school in Clarksville. And so, those are schools that, that principal reached out to me pretty early in the scheduling process. And, obviously we had been through what they're going through this year. And it's exciting for our program to get to play people like us. And, it's challenging. Our second game, we go to White House, this long established Sumner County rich tradition and, program. I think that's a tall order for us. So to get to play some other first year programs, I think is good for our guys. And it's a good measuring stick for us.
Coach Alexander, really appreciate your time today and coming on the Sumner County Sports Show. Great stuff. And I, for one, can say I'm really excited to see what the Wolves do here in year 2.
We appreciate it so much, and we appreciate everybody's support, and just excited to get this team number 2 off the ground and rolling.
Thank you, Coach Alexander. And here on the Sumner County Sports Show, we're going to take a quick break, couple of minutes here. When we come back, we're going to give you our Sumner County storylines, some closing thoughts. Stay tuned.
Tired of hanging lights every year? We get it. That's why Southern Nights is here to help. We install programmable lighting on your home or business so you can enjoy beautiful, customizable lighting all year round. No more ladders, tangled lights, or cold nights outside. We do the work, you do the celebrating. Call Southern Nights today and take the hassle out of holiday lighting forever. For a free quote, give us a call at 931-241-3074 or visit our Facebook page at Southern Knights.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
It was just a few drinks. I'm good. I thought it was good.
After every game, we always have a few. It's no big deal. It was no big deal.
Hey, I can hold my liquor. I thought I could hold my liquor.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee Sports Editor, three-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
Other guy in Wham married the best looking girl Bananarama, so other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
Great stuff from Chris and Mo there. Be sure to check them out while they're at SEC Media Days this week. That's where our normal producer Justin Kulik is as well. I'm a little jealous. Would love to head out there and watch and listen and interview some of the SEC's greatest talents. But all of that to say, the Sumner County Sports Show is brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, where fans don't let fans drive drunk. Thank you again to Liberty Creek coach Bill Alexander for just a great interview, a great insight into year 2 in the Wolves program. Really excited to see how their schedule plans out. There's a couple of Sumner County foes listed in there alongside those first-year teams he mentioned. So I'm sure I'll be out there for that great facility at least once or twice. Now, to get into our storylines, first off, our full count recap, looking at the full count rhythm. Normally, we would have Josh Carman on, but I think he's locking in, honing in for the postseason here in the Ohio Valley League. The Rhythm are the OVL's top team, first place team. I'm pretty sure they've all but sealed that with a few games left in the regular season, but they did not win Offensive or Defensive Player of the Year. Drew Robert Wilkins are in the pitcher slot on the all-OVL team. It was kind of interesting, though. I would think that, Robertson's stats aren't league best by any stretch, and Wilkins, I'm sure, has some things that might not make him an all-defender worthy, but you want to have the number one team in one of those slots, right? All of that to say, just talking about Wilkins a little bit, touching on him after last week's start against Clarksville, he had the league's lowest ERA among starters. I think that's defensive. For the Sumner County Sports Show purposes, he's our defensive player of the year. Drew Robertson's our offensive player of the year, too. Moving on to the Gallatin side of things, as I mentioned last week, we touched on a couple of football schools for our football preview. We'll touch a little bit more on that here in a second, but I got to spend almost an hour last week with new Gallatin football coach Michael Straub, his oldest son, Jackson. We had a really great talk and a nice feature in the Gallatin News this week about their connection and the possibility of them being a father-son duo of head coach and starting quarterback for the first time in Straub's career. Jackson is 6'4". He's very, very big. Michael joked that while he was at University School of Jackson, his previous stop, when Jackson was in, I think, 7th grade, people thought he should be on the offensive or defensive line. He is that big, but he has some really good accuracy from what I saw, and I'm excited to see where that QB competition goes between him and a freshman. I think the likelihood is that Stroud gets that opportunity, and here's hoping that he runs with it so him and his dad can have that bond for the next couple of years. A few more things to touch on here in the Sumner County sports world. Andrew Park is your new Pope Prep softball coach. The program is turning to its 3rd leader in 3 years. Park spent time as Pope's offensive coordinator for the football team and the director of basketball operations for the boys basketball team. As I mentioned in our release that you can find in the Hendersonville Standard and the Gallatin News, Pope Prep won 4 Division II games last spring. They finished 6th in the middle regions, so really looking for somebody to take hold of the program and run with it. And here's hoping that Andrew Park can do that. One quick note on his Twitter username, it is at Park, not Parks. So I had to make sure not to say Andrew Parks there. And if you're watching, Andrew, I got it right, I think. So all of that to close out our storylines with a little bit of an update, as I mentioned, on our Sumner County football preview. This morning at 8:30, I drove the hour north to go see Portland High School and got a little lost filtering between the high school and the middle school and then their indoor facility, but finally got to catch up with Coach Hunter Hicks and the Panthers and excited to see what they're going to do in a brutal 5A region. And of course, with today's conversation with Bill Alexander, we have covered 4 or 5, I believe it's 5 of the 9 Sumner County football teams now. I just need to write them. Hopefully we'll have that done by next month. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, all of those things. But that's your Sumner County storylines. We're going to take one more quick break here on the Sumner County Sports Show. And when we come back, we'll give you a quick closing thought. Stay tuned.
Nothing better than drinking an ice-cold beverage while taking in a Nashville Sounds baseball game. Hi, I'm Stephanie Miller with Mornings on Main Street. The Nashville Sounds and Main Street Media Television have teamed up to promote Sunday Family Fun Day here at First Horizon Park, each Sunday home game. Just go to your favorite Main Street Media website and click on Sounds Main Street Media Day banner to register to win free tickets. And then we'll see you here at the ballpark.
With closing out the Sumner County Sports Show today with one closing thought, and it was about NFL wide receiver Golden Tate, who was back in the Hendersonville area in Pope Prep on Tuesday. Had a fun time covering him in the Tate Athletic Skills Clinic. If I'm honest, I was pretty nervous. I've never talked to somebody that famous before for a story, but what I kept telling people was that I tried to come up with questions and thoughts that wouldn't make Golden Tate roll his eyes and think I've answered this a million times. So Golden, if you're watching today's Sumner County Sports Show, I hope that you enjoyed the 15 minutes that we got to talk. Thank you for your time. And there's a great story about what he's been up to recently and how he kind of impacted the kids at the Pope Prep Tate Skills Athletic Clinic this week. So be sure to check that out in the Hendersonville Standard and Gallatin News. That's going to wrap us up here on the Sumner County Sports Show, though. Thank you to the Tennessee Highway Safety Office for sponsoring this show. Remember, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Thank you to Mark Rogers for filling in and producing and directing this show today. And thank you, as always, for watching. We'll see you next week where we wrap up some more football, wrap up some more baseball, and who knows what else we'll get into, but we'll see you then.